Law 16 today, day 16, the law of the Big Mo. Momentum is a leader's best friend. Momentum is a leader's best friend, the law of the Big Mo. The Big Mo is the big momentum, that big push that is behind you. Here's the idea. When you ride a wave on a surfboard, it's the momentum of that wave that is pushing you along as you ride it. When you ride that Big Mo, it's your best, best friend while you're on that surfboard, because once that momentum stops, you sink. When the momentum stops, you will sink. It's an unfortunate fact, but it's a fact nonetheless. Perry Noble, who's a leader of a large organization in South Carolina, puts it like this. He says, when your momentum stops, you will find yourself in the biggest threat of a leadership. That's why you fight. He says this. He says, fight to remain within the momentum. Fight to remain within the momentum. You sit there and you're able to categorize, you're able to catch the next big wave, the next big wave, the next big wave, till you ride it all the way in, and then you go all the way back out and ride them all the way back in again. You catch that Big Mo. You make sure you're locked in to that Big Mo. Momentum is what can make the difference between you harnessing the full potential of your team. If you can sell momentum, if you can tell them, if you can communicate that there's momentum going on, if you can show that there's momentum building, people want to latch onto that and hook into that, and that can be the difference between finding that victory like we talked about or potentially losing. You got to lock into that momentum. Now there's about 6 principles that John Maxwell talks about in regards to momentum. The first is this: momentum is the great exaggerator. It can make things look bigger than they really are. See, here's the thing. You don't really have to worry about the smaller things when you're in the midst of momentum, because they sort of just seem to work themselves out along the way. But there should still be a feedback system for you to be able to understand what's going on, so what's pushing you doesn't stop pushing you simply because you aren't paying attention to it. Second, momentum makes leaders look better than they are, and that causes people to want to follow you when you look better than you are. Look, at the end of the day, we're all imperfect leaders, but there are some of us imperfect leaders that stand out a little more than the others, and then there's some of us that also have the momentum going behind us, and we look attractive right now, and if we can keep that momentum going, we'll continue to look that attractive to people who could be potential followers. Momentum helps people perform beyond their actual abilities. It's like leadership steroids. You just sit there and you're pumped up on it because everything's falling into place. So you got to get those big things done that you're looking at, and it allows you to do things beyond your actual abilities as a leader, but also enables your followers to do things beyond their actual abilities. Momentum is easier to steer than it is to start. When you are pushing that snowball that amasses into the giant boulder of snow that it will become at the bottom of the mountain, it's real difficult at first. You gotta be real intricate. You gotta roll the ball tight, and then you gotta push it. But once you get it over the cliff of that mountain, smooth sailing. You can steer it. It's much easier to steer it, much harder to start it. Momentum is a powerful agent of change. If I want to make changes in my organization, if I have the momentum behind me, it's much easier for me to make that change. I can steer that change that we talked about in the last principle, as opposed to having to start a change with no momentum behind me whatsoever. Finally, momentum is the leader's responsibility. You have to have vision. Momentum without direction is useless effort. Momentum without direction is useless effort. You're going somewhere, but you're not really going anywhere at all, because there's no vision behind it. There's no vision for victory behind it. There's no reason for you to be influencing the people that you're influencing behind it. There's no way you're going to add to their value behind it. There's not. You have to have a vision, and you have to have a responsibility to that vision while you are leading out of momentum. One of the biggest things that we can do, one of the biggest takeaways that I saw, and that we could have to build this momentum, to really build the momentum, is to create motivation to build momentum, or build motivation to develop momentum. When people feel motivated, they'll start moving towards one direction. Now, If it's you and two or three others, it'll be a slow push, but it'll be a push forward. But if you can influence and you can motivate 10 or 15 people to all move in the same direction, and then those people motivate one or two people themselves, and that's 30, 35 people that you have pushing in the same direction, you'll start to see that momentum begin to develop. So what you need to do is exert that influence over some people that you have, not in a coercive way, but in a way that inspires vision and develops hope inside of them. And in doing that, you can develop momentum. And out of that momentum, you can do things that you wouldn't be able to do in a regular season. I'm hoping that you're able to do things that you wouldn't be able to do in a regular season because you're developing momentum and you're really realizing that Big Mo is your best friend as a leader. I'll see you guys tomorrow.